Now here's a headline that's just almost hard to believe. You know, maybe if we were in fairy tale land, it would be hard to believe. But since we're in reality, which actually kind of is fairy tale land, come to think of it, this shouldn't be a surprise. Bank runs now start in the United Kingdom as Santander deposit, that's a bank, deposits are withdrawn in droves. What? Oh, hold on, wait a minute. Greek banks, $1 billion plus. Spanish banks, $1 billion when they first reported it. God knows what that number has gone to now. People taking money out of the bank. That's what I'm talking about. A bank run. So we got Greece. Spain started. And this bank, Santander, is owned by Banco. Is it, where's this at? Spain's Banco Santander. So people are a little nervous. Spain's having some major issues. Our bank over here, which is owned by them, is having issues. And you don't think, what if they took money out of this branch to help feed the fire or slow down the fire over in Spain? And what's going to happen to my funds if my funds are in the bank? Well, it's FDIC insured, or whatever they call it over there in the UK. Who knows what kind of insurance they have. We call it FDIC here in America. But when there's too many people doing it and pulling it out all at once, there's major cause for concern. So, withdrawals at Santander, UK amid Spain fears. Customers with large deposits. Now that's an interesting key word they use there. Not just customers, your average bozo who's got, a few $100 or $100 or less, or maybe a few $1,000s in his bank account. This doesn't apply to them. These are the ones in the know, apparently. And again, the richer most people are, the more they're going to be in the know, for the most part, about when to start removing their money and that kind of thing. You will be the last person to find out, unless you happen to subscribe to people like me. Customers with large deposits have started withdrawing cash from Santander, the bank has admitted, as it tried to reassure concerned members of the public that their money is safe. Leave it here, it's safe. But they're pulling $1 billion out of Greece. There's only 10 million people living there. That's Greece. Oh, but they just started pulling another $1 billion out just a few days after that in Spain, and they're probably continuing. And this bank is owned by Spain. Don't worry about it. It's safe. Leave it here. Leave it in our system. I was watching Pastor Dowell's video the other day where he talks about playing their game. How do you win? Do you win by electing another Democrat or Republican? No. That's like saying, this ant, I poked the stick in an ant pile, and now one by one these ants are pouring out. And the first one, I stuck my finger down there, he bit the hell out of me. Man, it hurt. Well, that was a Democrat. There's a little bit bigger one next to him called a Republican, coming out of the same ant hole for the same reason. But stick my hand in front of him. Damn it, he bit me and that hurt too. Well, let me stick a different kind of stick in the ant hole and see what else comes out. You're going to see the two same kinds of ants. They're Democrat. In our case, they're Democrats and Republicans. Both. Ultimately, they're ants. And ultimately, these guys are called politicians. So there's no red or blue. Oh, if the Democrats knew about this, they'd be all over that. They would bury Romney or whoever it is, right? And if the Republicans knew some dirt like that on Obama, they would bury him. No, they don't bury him. They don't bury each other because they're on the same damn team. They pretend to bury each other on nonsense type of things so that the other party can win hands down. Just like John Kerry did with George Bush, if you remember that one. So, let me just continue here for a minute, but, just to make this point, I'm watching his video, he made me think of some things, and he said, again, how do you expect to win playing on a board game, so to speak, in which the rules were created by this particular party who's playing the board game, too? He didn't just make the board game, he's playing on the board game. It's his board game, he owns it. He's also playing in it. He created the rules to the board game, and when you were born, and I was born, and your parents were born, and pretty much everyone alive right now was born, we didn't have a chance to say, you know what, you guys want to come up with the board game? Let's all put our opinions in here. I don't like that rule, and I don't like this rule, and let's come to an agreement. No. The board game was already in play. The game was already in play when you were born. You didn't have any say-so. You kind of figured out, if you're halfway intelligent, there's a game going on apparently. We just think we're just living and everything's not by chance, and everything is by chance, and I live my life the way I want to live it, and nothing can affect me unless I do it myself. When in reality, there's a whole lot of things going on that affect you, that you don't think affect you, that you'd be pretty pissed off if you realized did affect you. And then you'd be even more pissed off and in dire straits at the same time, because when you realize how you can't do anything about it right now, not playing in their system, right? Got a bad credit score? Why did you get a bad credit score? Well, I lost my job. I had to get rid of my house, or I had to forfeit, or not forfeit, but quit paying my credit cards. I lost my job. Why did you lose your job? Because the company I work for let me go. Why did they let you go? Because the global economy sucks. Why does the global economy suck? Because the bankers. It ultimately leads back to these banking families. So it's their fault that we're having all this trouble. So ultimately, that's it. But it's them. It's their game. The bankers. It's their game. You got forcefully played into it, because if you want to live and eat and breathe as soon as you're born and start to get into that age where you start to want out and get on your own and go see the world and experience society, there's a board game that's already in play that you have to go participate in. We call that society. So how do you decide at one point, I don't like this board game, I don't like the rules, they're clearly unfair, they're clearly completely biased towards the creator of the board game, which is known as the banks and giant corporations that evolve around those banks, like oil companies and pharmaceutical and that kind of thing. So, in other words, I'm taking my player back off the board. I don't want to play that board. Well, then you can't drive on the streets, you can't own a car, you can't go to the grocery store because you're not going to have money, you can't have a job because having a job is part of their system, because you have to earn money that they created, by the way. It's their money, backed by nothing. And then you have to go buy things with that money. So you have to play the game. But what if there's a way that you didn't have to play the game? Or you could make the rule change, per se, let's call it that. The game's still in play, but all of a sudden you cause a rule change. You cause a rule change to take place that the owner of the game didn't really expect and now has to deal with. And it's in the best favor for you to win and everybody like you, which is basically the 99%. Boy, that seems like a better plan. You don't have to get violent. You don't have to do anything like that, right? So what do? Let me read this headline again. Starting with this, sounds like a good number one. Withdrawals at Santander UK Bank amid Spain fears. Customers with large deposits have started withdrawing cash from Santander, the bank has admitted, as it tried to reassure concerned members of the public that their money is safe. So if you took your money, it's your money. Notice how I'm not saying go rob a bank or go steal someone else's money somehow or cause some kind of, homegrown terrorist event. No. It's your money, and you are deciding on your own free will to put it into a bank. And by doing so, you're automatically allowing the game to continue. And I know when you think about that, you would say, well, what about a business? You can't even be a business in this country. The place I work for couldn't do business if we didn't have a bank account. How could we write all these checks to subcontractors and get all? Never could happen. So we got to have at least the businesses have to have a bank. There's no way around it, right? But us as people, individuals, who make up the majority of the money that's in those banks, could pull our money out. And as a matter of fact, as I told you, I keep the absolute bare minimum in my bank account at all times, simply because I have to have something in there. My wife's out, needs a swipe the card for something, the debit card, or I'd rather have her have that than cash on her. But again, I don't have my whole life savings in the bank. I've got my money out of the bank. Most of it goes into silver. I have some cash on the side. It's in my possession practically at all times. It is in no bank or facility whatsoever. So if everyone else started withdrawing money, the people in Greece already did it. Spain started, people in Spain, and now people in the UK, because of Spain, and this bank is owned by basically a Spanish bank, a large Spanish bank, they're getting nervous. So you don't suppose you're seeing a chain reaction here, do you? Just like the Great Depression, And remember, that was started by J.P. Morgan himself. The man, J.P. Morgan, wrote an article in the newspapers that said such and such, I forget the name of the bank, was insolvent. You shouldn't have your deposits there. Everyone got nervous, started withdrawing. By, I don't even know, noon or whatever, the bank was cleaned out. Other people started reading the article, seeing what happened at that bank, and said, oh my God, I don't use that bank, but I use another bank, and if that happened there, this could happen to mine. Oh my God, I better run to my bank. And then that guy did it, and someone else heard that, etc. It just caused a chain reaction. So I'm witnessing right now, you and I are witnessing a chain reaction. The question is, will the elite and their news propaganda agencies be able to put a lid on this and keep it down enough to where it doesn't really hurt too much, and they can kind of handle it? Who knows? You would think they would already had a ton of money printed on standby for just such an event. I mean, they've been dragging this on for so long, they'd have plenty of time to print all this money for people to pull out. And maybe they have. And then ultimately they may say, see, everyone got their money, you pulled it all out, now what? You going to put it on your mattress? Bank's still here, we're still alive, okay. And then they go back and put it back in the bank. And then it blows up in their face. Who knows? But that's one thing you can do. You can see what your options are and say, well, I don't want to play their game. Most of the game, you don't have a choice. If you're alive, eating, and breathing, you're playing the game whether you like it or not. But there's the things you can do that cause a rule change to take place. And mid-game. Kind of like they like to do. Like on the CME group. Friday night, market's closed. We're raising silver margin such and such percent. You got to be in compliance on Monday. What do you mean on Monday? That's as soon as the market's open, it's going to be a bloodbath. Well, that's okay. We're doing this for market stability. We need to make sure everyone isn't, going too crazy with betting on the silver market. But you're going to cause a bloodbath of downward momentum by raising margins. No comment. Oh, okay. And then they did that 5 times in the span of 8 days last year. They just tried to do it again, as you all know, recently with all commodities, not just silver this time, believe that or not, 35%. CFTC said, we'll give you guys 90 days. You don't have to do that yet. Thank God, because it would have been another bloodbath that Monday morning also, like they like to do. And this would have been the bloodbath of all bloodbath for commodities, because it wasn't just silver getting the 35%, which is a huge margin increase, by the way. 35% is massive. They don't do numbers like that normally. And it would have been everything from corn, coffee beans, oil, gold, silver, all the metals, platinum, everything. Everything would have been affected. So, as I said, I've got a reminder in my calendar. End of July, ding dong, pops up. What's the market looking like? What's silver at right now? Be prepared to sell a bunch of it prior to the next 2 weeks or whatever, because that's when the 35% margin hike is going to kick in, and it would automatically drop the market. And I will do a video when that takes place to let you know what old JSNEP 4 is going to do. And I can't imagine that this will be the first time ever in history that they'll raise it 35%, which is massive, and the prices just stay or go higher, even though it's silver and gold, and we know where they're ultimately heading. But again, the question is, when's QE3 going to kick in? Because we're at the 20th now of May, so we have 10 days till June, and then all of July, and then a little bit of August. And that's when that rule should kick in, or whatever, not necessarily a rule, but when the 35% margin hike should kick in across the board, again, for everything. Now, normally, someone might say, well, like I gave you an example before, I'll take my money out of my such and such futures contract, some other, coffee beans. It did good. I can sell that and then put the money that they're asking for silver in my silver account, which nobody does because they already know the price is going down, so you wouldn't do that. But if you got a margin call for some reason, you could say, got a silver margin call. Stupid CFTC came out, or CME group came out on Friday night, came out with a big announcement. They're raising margins Monday morning. I got to be in compliance, and the market's selling off right now after hours, and I'm screwed. Or actually, I don't think they do it on Friday nights, but first thing Monday, you're screwed. So they could pull that out because they have another contract. But what if they did it to the whole entire commodities? You can't pull it out. They're all going to see a bloodbath, basically, which would be massive deflation. Again, I don't know what if QE3 kicks in now, like in the next week or two. Let's say June 1st, quantitative easing 3 kicks in. By the time 2 months later, I would assume we see some pretty good numbers in all the markets, including gold, silver, and the Dow and everything else should go back up. We could even see record-breaking Dow, S&P, that kind of thing, just because of that pump and dump scheme they're doing with QE3. They're pumping it now, and it'll be the mother of all QEs. It has to be, so that they can dump it later and let the whole thing collapse in on itself. And again, as things go up, there's buyers. When things go down, there's also buyers. But the elite are going to sell at the top. Trust me on that. And they'll get out long before you and I figured out, oh, the market's crashing. Oh, I woke up today and it's down, however many points. Big time. Everything is in the red today. They already knew probably weeks before that happened, and they already got out. So, again, if this happened that quick, QE3 went in, and for some reason silver was like $100 or something ridiculous, in that short amount of time, I would absolutely issue a sell order to every one of my subscribers right before that 35% margin hike rule kicks in. Now, what would be very interesting is if that day came 90 days from now, okay, we're getting ready to implement 35% margin hike across the board, sell your silver, get some good profit, and then all of a sudden, you know what? Something happened out of the CFTC or whatever, and we don't have to do that 35% margin hike after all. Or we're going to extend it for another 90 days or 30 days or 60 days. That could happen. So that's one of the reasons why you have to be careful, even with physical silver. And, if you just go by the very basic principle, buy physical silver and keep stacking it. Don't stop. So in other words, even if this happens and they do kick in the 35% increase, and let's say silver was at $40 or something in 2 months. Let's just say it was at $40. Hey, I'm kind of thinking I might sell. No, I don't want to take a chance. I don't want to take a chance. And that's fine because you get to keep your silver. You're not taking a chance. You're playing it absolutely safe. And then the 35% does kick in and it's back down to $28 or something. You're going to sit there and say, damn it, that sucked. But you will have the silver in your hand. You will have it in your safe, wherever you're keeping it. Please don't tell me you're keeping it in a bank safe deposit box. I'll come through the screen and slap you right now. Don't do that. You keep it in your possession in a safe. And keep in mind, homeowners insurance does not cover cash or jewelry or precious metals such as gold and silver in your house if it gets stolen. Most policies will give you between $1,000 to $2,000, period. Have a nice day. You have to get extended coverage for those specific items, and it is pretty expensive, which is why you should have a safe in a nice little location in your house, butted up in a corner somewhere, bolted to the ground, and not some chicken crap safe from Lowe's or Walmart or whatever. They call them safes, but they're not. They're basically a fireproof box, okay? That's all they are. You can go to YouTube and search for that stuff and watch how someone cuts through it with the little band, some kind of saw, a sawzall or something, cuts right through it in literally a matter of like seconds, 20 seconds or something. Just ridiculous. That is not a safe. You have to get a real safe, which is going to be several hundreds of dollars, usually over $500 plus for a real safe, burglar-proof safe that you can bolt to the ground. That still doesn't mean that someone can't come in and cut the thing, but they're not going to cut it in 10 or 20 seconds. And if it was put in a corner of your house, they can only get to some of it. They're not going to be able to pry the rest of it open once they cut through almost half of it. They're not going to be able to because the rest of the half is still intact. And you ain't bending that kind of metal. Ain't going to happen. So, and the other thing is, don't put it in your bedroom. The number one place that a thief will go straight to is a homeowner's bedroom, the master bedroom. They know that's where the mom and pop are going to sleep, and the mom and pop are going to have something of value in that room. So if you wanted to put it somewhere else, put it in your kid's room or a baby's room or your laundry room, or you got a third family room or something, some kind of third or fourth bedroom extra or whatever, family room. Even in the laundry room, who would think of a laundry room that you're going to put something of serious value? Right out here is my family room. It could be out there. I've got an extra. We have the family room. We have the regular, living room / dining table. It's kind of part and the same. I mean, there's about 4 different places in my house where I could put mine. That is absolutely not in the master bedroom. So, I mean, you got to be dumb to just have your stuff laying around. I'm telling you that right now. And I know some people personally who have it lying around, not even in a chicken scratch safe. So to each his own. But this bank runs are here. They're already taking place, and we just happen to get a glimpse of some media capturing it and actually reporting on it. So if they're reporting a certain number, you already know it's way worse than that. So if they say, oh, $1 billion was withdrawn, you know it's way more than $1 billion. They're just trying to keep the number down as low as they can to make other people think, well, that's just a few people. You know, this bank has billions and billions and billions and billions. One little billion's nothing. That's what they want you to think. Bottom line is, have most of your money in your possession. Do what I do if you want. Keep a month's worth of bills in the bank, and that's it. And at the same time, what would happen if someone hacked my card and got my bank account? Big deal. They got a little bit of money. I'll go deposit some cash in there the next day. Give me a new debit card. Done. I'm safe. So that's all I got for you. Got to run. Take care.